Casey, you want to say a quick word about Five9?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you to the tech exec team for organizing this and for everyone joining. We're really excited to be able to be here and talk to you about CX and the omni-channel experience and all the different technologies that are helping to improve brand loyalty and customer experience. So just a little bit about Five9. We've been in business in the contact center space for over 20 years. We're a recognized global leader with a focus on customers and execution in the market. So, technology is great, but without execution, it's just a dream. And so Five9 really pairs the both of those together. And we're excited to be here together with Online Business Systems, one of our premier partners in the Canadian market.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Let's, how about Jay? You want to say a couple words about Online Business Systems?
Sure. We'll make this really quick. So we are a digital transformation and cybersecurity consultancy, which basically means if it's something that's, if there's some technical aspect to it, we do it. We have, I believe we're actually a little over 350 people. So we do both implementation and consulting in all of the kind of domains you're looking at there on the screen. My practice, the customer experience practice, we focus solely on customer experience. We do a lot of contact center implementation. We do a lot with Five9, but we also do a lot of consulting at a little higher level than that, where we consult around the actual customer experience. We have a very deep business consulting and user experience consulting group, and so that's basically who we are.
Okay, thank you so much, Jay. All right, so a couple ground rules for today's session. As we all know, today's a public forum. A lot of you guys may or may not be able to ask the questions or post the comments that you want to do or share the insights. So we do encourage you guys to consider doing a private session with both Five9 and also Online Business Systems after today. I will put that information out on the chat a little bit later. And so a couple ground rules. It's an open to share event, which means you're able to share whatever you want to say. But on social media, if we can all do each other a favor, is not write a post tagging each other's name. Feel free to tag Jay and Casey and Diane as much as you want. So that's it, but nobody else, okay? Thank you all for joining. So let's jump right into it. Diane's going to take us into about 10 minutes worth of like an overall customer experience feel with the trends. And then Casey and Jay are going to dive way deeper into the AI bots and the different variations of the tools and solutions that are available now. So Diane, I'm going to let you present. So go ahead and share your desktop.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have all of you here today. I think what we're going to do is, as Tony keeps saying, is we're going to do a deep dive into how you're really interacting. But I want to set the stage for the other two folks as they're beginning. Hang on just a second. A little technical opportunity.
I think while your file is being saved, so I think Jay is going to touch more on the business side, and then Casey is going to dive into the actual technical side, or the reverse. I'll let them figure it out.
I'm going to kind of start with a little bit of the human side and what organizations are doing differently now, not so much just about COVID, but what have we been seeing even over the last few years that was coming anyway, and we've just seen an acceleration. So the first thing that we all know is that everybody keeps talking about the new normal. Well, that has been coming for quite some time. Expectations continue. That's only been modified and accelerated and been a catalyst for more of the things that are happening. And so what we're seeing is this true reliance of organizations on experience intelligence. And what I mean by that is we have to know in more detail what we as consumers and brands, how that interaction is occurring and what we need, the information that we need, the access to knowledge and information, the speed, as we talked about earlier. So all of these things are what's really playing out. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we see as those trends and how these things kind of all fit together so you have context for what they're going to talk about. So as we think about experience management, let me just step back and say, you know, people talk about customer experience, and it's great for everybody to kind of say, yes, we're all about the experience and create those experiences. But what experience management teams do in organizations as a discipline is they begin to be what I call the mortar between the bricks. We are taking all of those interactions and making sure, one, they're reliable, two, they're consistent across channels, across locations, across all of the different regions, and making sure that the value is being created for the customer as well as the organization. So oftentimes people think about our job as being, go get the surveys and figure out what's wrong. It's a much more holistic picture. So when you're thinking about what you're trying to implement with Five9 or any other tool or technology, we really want to helicopter up and think about what's the experience I'm trying to create and what's the value I'm creating with that. Whether it's a quick phone call to fix something or whether it's the product itself, all of those things have to be cared for and thought of in a more holistic picture. So that's what we help to care for as experienced professionals. The one thing I want to talk to you just briefly about is Brian Salas, a good friend of mine who's a futurist, talks about this concept called digital Darwinism. And we've seen that technology and society are evolving faster than the ability for companies to adapt. And so everybody, not just your company, but everybody is feeling this wave and tsunami of information and the expectations really taking over. And COVID has only accelerated that. So what we're going to talk about today is how do you begin to be faster and more agile, not agile from development, but how do you have more agility as you're answering customer concerns and questions, and employees as well. What I'd like to talk about a little bit is there's also this experience Darwinism. So what we're finding is that a lot of organizations are turning toward technology as a way to really address some of the concerns. And I think there's a lot to be done there with technology and data. But what we're finding is the experience itself and this human side is kind of being forgotten. We're forgetting that it's about the experience and that technology and data only enable that experience. So what this means in this transitioning from what Brian said to experience Darwinism is how do we know? Are the expectations further ahead than what you're delivering? Even though you think you're in the customer's shoes, what should we be doing to further garner success and movement as we move past COVID and all the other things that are going to happen with the economic recession and some of the things we see occurring? So I guess what you would really take away from this is that our experience expectations as consumers have been catalysts for actually changing the way organizations work. So a lot of times what we see is organizations who are looking at these specific things they go do, and they don't stop and really think about how are we working? The actual way our organization works, the culture, the processes, the internal pieces that need to be in play as competencies in order to really address what needs to happen. So as we see people come out of this over the next 6 or 7 months and really adjust to this new rate of speed, we're going to find organizations who haven't really put that structure behind how you've changed the way that you work. And so one of the things lots of organizations now that are looking forward are saying is, how do I really build the understanding, capability, data, analytics to be able to really skate ahead of my competition, but also of the expectations in the marketplace. So it's a great way to think about what are you doing today that's going to set you up for success to tomorrow. And the guys are going to talk a lot more about that in detail. I'm just giving you that purview. One of the things that I want you to think about too is that in addition to how I really think about those capabilities is all organizations are also understanding this more holistic design of the experience, both from an enterprise standpoint and from an ecosystem standpoint. So let me explain what those things mean. If we think about an ecosystem, it's not just about the customer, but it's also about the employee journey. It's about the partners that they do business with. Think about your refrigerator ordering food automatically from the grocery store and getting it delivered. That requires those 3 brands to work together. And what we see is one of the trends is that many brands are going to have to start thinking more holistically about this ecosystem. It's not just that interaction with your brand, because that's not really how we live our lives, right? We touch multiple brands every day. So we find these organizations thinking more holistically, but they're also thinking about tying these layers together. I talk about it, right? So internal capabilities, workflows, processes, the culture. And then they talk about user, digital, and tech and architecture as a way to really enable that. So this bigger picture, while it seems overwhelming, this is where we're defining successful organizations to be able to design more holistically. What's happening, why it's happening, where it's happening, and what information they have or need in order to make things really sing. Because we're really redefining the understanding and what creates value. So you think about these two young girls, these are probably two 15, 16-year-olds. They've never in their life probably called a care center, and they've probably not ever filled out a survey. So the technical things that we've done before to really understand and engage consumers is changing dramatically. So some of the capabilities you're going to hear about in a little bit are all about how do you reach audiences that aren't in the typical channels that we've always relied on. How are we going further and going beyond that and looking for those new generational opportunities to understand them better? So it's about creating a different understanding internally of the value we're creating and how we're going to reach those folks. It's also about this driving faster, this agility that I talked about, that there's an increased need for this deeper holistic knowledge. So while we're thinking about the contact center and all of the interactions we're having, organizations are working more on their customer data platforms or customer intelligence platforms because they recognize that gathering information to be able to use that information in a direct way is what's going to really create the differentiation for them. And what I mean by that is we start to see this kind of redefining understanding and value also as these conversational strategies, right? So it's no longer one-way feedback. It's where we use those conversations to learn about customers and what they're after, to be predictive and preemptive with that information. So a lot of the intelligence that we have is coming from conversations through chat and all the other features now. That is part of what we're going to talk about today and how you really leverage that information to get where you can really define a good roadmap. This holistic journey is going to require us to really create a view and aggregation and analytics and action that really will move us ahead. So what I see happening a lot in organizations, and you probably will feel this once I say it, is we see a lot of companies gathering all this data and aggregating it and running all these analytics, but they don't have a good insights to action capability that is holistic, like the design and ecosystem I talked about earlier. So think about your organization and what they're actually using the information for. Are they simply band-aiding, or are they being very proactive with that, finding the right things to go solving the customer's problems, finding ways to create more value for customers? Are they using that information to really gain those insights, or is it really just very tactical information? So that's what we see happening in organizations now who are being proactive, like Coca-Cola, about understanding where they're headed, what's happening in the marketplace today, and using this as a way to stop and really think about changing the way they work from those insights to action. So if we think about it, that's really kind of new capabilities and a mental and behavior model. So I'm introducing that concept. The gentlemen are going to provide you with, here's some examples of exactly how that can work in your organization, because it's not just about the data, it's about how it gets worked into the organization, what the organization does with it in a holistic and connected way. And we are seeing experience design at the center of this change. So many organizations not only use experience design, we know a lot who do that, they're using experience design to actually redesign their organizations and what works internally. So thinking about how the teams work together or how they're going to really go from insights to action. So we see design thinking, which used to be really about product and service design, now being organizational design. So it's another way to really think about how all this information and these tools can help you move forward and redesign the way that you work. It's about being more intentional and relevant and designing those journeys. One of the things we see a lot, even today, with all the changes and the agility and things we're putting in place, is that people are kind of whack-a-mole. Oh, you know what? We can put digital here, or we can put digital there. And what we see happening is that actually human beings are requiring and want more personal interaction. They've kind of, the pendulum is swinging a little bit. So you need to understand where they want that interaction and what types of interactions require that versus those where we're just going to say, you know what, we're just going to make it all digital and it'll be fine. It'll meet their speed requirements, but it might not meet their personal requirements. So we're really wanting to begin to combine all these things I've talked about and create a structure for, again, changing the way we work. So it's about this alignment and accountability and really the governance of how we're going to move forward, because we can't move forward in silos. And the gentlemen are also going to talk a little bit about how this information gets shared across the organization so that opportunities coming into the care center, we can go back and really look at that more holistically. So we really see this purposeful intent to shift. It's really about using the information to drive that understanding of the experience, starting with that and enabling that with technology and digital. So I'm going to hand it over to the gentleman now, and I want to challenge you to really listen for those ways that this information, these tools can really help your organization move forward.
Okay. Thank you so much, Diane. Really appreciate your insights. Are you going to hang out a little bit, or do you?
I'll be back.
You.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Thank you so much. All right, so Casey or Jay, whichever. Casey.
I am coming on right now. Can you see my screen? Just confirming.
Looks good.
Excellent. Well, again, I appreciate everyone for joining the session today. Diane, that was fantastic, and it's like we've practiced and rehearsed that for years. But there's a lot of great content in there, and hopefully I can complement it with some of the items that we covered today. Well, first and foremost, I bet none of you expected to have equations and math problems when we started out the day today. But really what I want to touch on is coming from the Five9 perspective, and really where we believe, and at our core value, we believe that it's not just about a contact center platform and technology, but it's about improving that in agent experience. Because at the end of the day, when those two are combined, you're delivering a top level, high level human experience. And when you deliver a human experience, the customer becomes loyal to your brand and they begin to advocate on your behalf. One of the things, the new normal, Diane nailed it. It's been happening for a while. The contact center has really become the new front door to the business. And what we've seen over the last 9 months is really just been an acceleration of a path that we've seen and trends that we've watched over the last 5 years. But wanted to call out a couple of things that when companies invest in experience-driven businesses, they actually see a 2x higher customer retention, repeat purchases, and then they have customers of a lifetime. You know, the CEO of Zappos just passed, but you know, when he talks about Zappos, it was a customer experience company that just happened to sell shoes. He knew that the competitive differentiator in the market is my experience with an organization. It's not product, it's not bells, it's not whistles, which is one of the reasons why Five9, when you take a look at NPS scores, customer experience, technology is one thing, but how companies interact with you sets you apart. It's also like 84% of customers feel that, you know, experiences are more important or as important as the actual products. And then again, 90% of customers expect this immediate, like, hey, I have a question, I have an issue, I want to know more about your business. Those are key metrics to follow. So let's dive into Omnichannel really quick. And with that, I'm going to tell you a story. So I manage and oversee the channel business in Canada, and I was placing a high amount of phone calls into Canada over one of my carriers. I found out that I had signed up for the wrong plan with my carrier, and I was seeing an astronomical bill. So I, during a web session much like this, I know none of you are multitasking out there, I decided to start web chatting with my carrier of choice. So I was going through talking about the plan that I signed up for, and probably 30 minutes into the conversation, they said, you know what? We need to take this now to a phone call. I said, great, give me your phone number and I'll give you a ring. And they said, no, here's the 1-800 number. You now need to start this conversation all over again. The issue there is now think about my interaction where I'm coming in, I have an issue where I'm spending money with this organization. It's not just my experience. Think of it from the back end, the data. I now am sitting there and I'm having a web chat conversation. And now here's another data point or an entry point where I'm coming in from a voice. Now, if that's cross-channel, they're doing a lot of expensive back-end data merging that says Casey Dunnigan came in, and now I'm merging the two together. When we start to talk about omnichannel, it's about taking that customer interaction and meeting them across all the different channels and allowing me to go in, have that web chat interaction, and then leverage all the channels around me to deliver a seamless customer experience back to myself. And it's not just about offering all the channels out there. The other piece that we'll talk about is really the data, the reports, which are the most important part of the contact center omni-channel experience, is the data that we're able to retrieve, but also the forecasting, going with a platform that has the ability to now forecast the agent labor as it's managing across these multiple different channels. One of the other things that we're now, as I was talking about, we made some recent acquisitions, but it's about merging the virtual and human agents to really start to provide a cost-effective and intuitive personalized experience. I like to show this McKinsey report. So when you take a look at software from contact center software as a standalone, it's a $24 billion total addressable market. The labor spend, the management of the people in there, it's over $210 billion. And McKinsey predicts that in 10 years, 16% of that labor force will have some sort of intelligent virtual agent, or there will be some sort of automation in the contact center that's in there. When you think about this from your perspective, think about this really as gains in throughput and efficiency. It's not displacing the agents, but as that company grows, you're going to be able to grow and meet the demands of a growing economy without having to hire the additional headcount. So let's dive into some specific statistics and talking points around our intelligent virtual assistants through our Inference acquisition. So we did a survey. 71% agreed, customers out there agreed that intelligent self-service automation helped their organization remain agile during COVID-19. I'm looking through my phone from last year, and the events that happened 90 days later was not on the horizon. What customers, organizations, employees all had to pivot and make decisions. How now that the contact center was their front door and they're seeing this influx, I can no longer go into a brick and mortar and purchase something. I'm buying things online. So self-service, having the right intelligent virtual agent was able to help streamline and help companies as they went through COVID experience. So let's dive into what does an intelligent virtual agent do? Essentially, the bottom line is virtual agents, virtual assistants empower human agents to focus on high-value tasks. So think about this. I'm worried about making my mortgage payments. A robot or an automated chatbot isn't going to have the empathy that a human can deliver. You're not going to replace humans when it involves things of the heart. When it involves things like automation, things like that, that's a perfect opportunity for things like an intelligent virtual agent to come in, because 60% of agent interactions are done on repetitive tasks. Let's use them and drive the empathy and that connection with that customer and drive the brand loyalty. But if I need to pay my bill, I can offload that into a less expensive channel and have just the same outcome, if not better. So now let's talk about new solutions that effectively manage and collaborate, with your remote employees and decrease training times and increase efficiencies. Well, we did an internal survey and looked across the board, and agents now today are working more than ever. What's happened in the past, and this is, like I said, January, February, March, April. If you look at the average monthly minutes an agent is doing, their workload is increasing. We need to deliver tool sets to keep them happy, help them to deliver an amazing customer experience, and ensure that we're managing this potential upswing in a labor spend. Because how are you now going to forecast when you have an influx of calls? You're going to need to scale up. Or do you bring in technologies that can help offload some of those agent calls so you can essentially scale with your demand effectively? And that's where we come in with the Five9 Agent Assist. What this does is this essentially rides side shotgun with an agent. So your agent's sitting there, they're working through, and the Five9 Agent Assist is essentially the brain, and the agent is the heart. So it's performing all these different tasks. It says it's listening in, and it's providing next outcomes. Say, hey, I have to pay a bill. Okay, this is Casey. Go to this screen. It's amazing that when we still go into contact centers and you're looking at agents working through multiple screens with Post-it notes all over their desk, that's a world that these expert agents live in. If we were able to come in and deliver a solution that provided them the right next steps and had the Post-it notes and that knowledge already built in, no matter if it was an expert agent or somebody that just started, they would be able to improve customer experience, but also answer more calls more effectively. And so if you think about it, this is key. It takes 6 months to a year for a new agent to become an expert. Think about the amount of time that we're able to now accelerate that training by putting an application on the desktop that allows them to put on, workflow, but also summarize all the back-end information. So if I want to know, hey, what is the transcript for this call? What was the outcome? This Agent Assist can accomplish that. So what we want to talk about is, what is this benefit of assisted summarization? The summarization. So it gives you insights, it gives you more accurate reports and data. So imagine, Casey Dunnigan as an agent, and then we have, Jay Gunnell coming on as an agent. We're going to type, we're going to disposition. That's potentially humans that are driving data into the CRM that you're making financial decisions on. With something like Agent Assist that can summarize and auto disposition, you're now having the power of artificial intelligence being able to disposition a call accurately, summarizing the notes consistently across the board, and now you're able to now also on the tail end of it, now speed up and reduce the average handle time within that call center, because I would spend 30 seconds to a minute. Jake can do it a lot faster, but I would be 30 seconds to a minute typing up a disposition in my words, going through, hoping that I accurately do it. Now we can leverage the power of AI and technology to effectively remove that 30 seconds to a minute, allow me to take another phone call, plus I get accurate data into the mix. Other things that we can do as we start to look at, how do we keep our agents engaged? Things like gamification, where you're going to be able to instill a culture of like high performance and transparency, create co-opetition amongst teams. You create a better working environment, and really it just builds out camaraderie. All these types of things, as we start to go down and take a look across, at agent churn and all these other things that impact your business, because at the end of the day, think about it, your agents, the call center agent, talks to more customers on a daily basis than product, the C-suite, anyone else in that organization. So to make sure that they're happy, because they are essentially the front door to your organization, is paramount. And then with that, I give you the Five9 performance dashboards. The ability now to maximize and review everybody's contribution to success. You're able to take all these different data points and bring them together into a single dashboard. Things that normally would not have been, contact center dashboards would not have had access to. With performance dashboards, we're now able to pull in third-party systems. So you're now able to get a 360 view of your organization, whether it's you're pulling it in from the contact center data, BI tools, CRM, all of that is coming into a centralized location. And so I can talk to this piece here. So really, how do you make this all possible? And I'm going to transition it over to Jay in a second. But the key is you want to map technology to your business. You don't want to be you don't want to be mapping your business to technology. That is why at Five9, with partners like Online Business, we have an open platform that comes in. We can come in and understand what your business objectives are, and then turn around and be able to map our technology to you. You don't want to be, held accountable to a technology platform that's rigid. You want it to map to you. And then from making it possible, all of these different technologies help improve agent churn by keeping them happy and satisfied. They work through, with IVAs, we take low risk, highly repetitive calls and we automate them. There's all sorts of throughputs and efficiencies that we can find. So as your organization says, how do we up level our customer experience? A lot of the technologies that we spoke about today can not only help to drive that brand loyalty, but the throughput and efficiency gains can help fund them as well. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jay.
Thank you so much. Jay?
Thanks, Casey. I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Oh, it looks exactly the same as Casey's screen because we did talk a little bit before this. But really, the main thing that I want to talk about is, again, how we do these things, right? How do we make this all happen? And not necessarily, not in a lot of detail because we don't have all that much time. But the first thing I want to start talking to you about is really the past is the past. But because we can get you now to where your customers want you to be, where you want to be. And I have to start off though by saying we in the CX industry have probably not always delivered what we hoped to deliver. We've probably not always delivered what you've hoped for us to deliver. But we have been working on the concepts we're talking about today for decades. And I can say that definitively because 10 years ago, I was a product manager for a large company that actually was trying to build this. Me and my product team, we were trying to build this. I was flying all over the world getting customer input, and I do mean all over the world. That was a different time, wasn't it? Getting customer input, evangelizing for omnichannel personalized experience with an intelligent virtual agent in front of it. In fact, we even had a thing that we called, it's fun for me to see these presentations today because they used the same words. We even had a thing that we called the intelligent front door at that time. So this is not new stuff, but platforms have really held us back. And that's actually probably not fair to the platforms. It's more that the ecosystem has held us back. These platforms that we've been building on for years and years and years are premise-based, but that's not necessarily the biggest problem. The biggest problem is they're expensive, they're complex, and the biggest problem for people in my position who've been trying to deliver customer experience for your customers is that by the time we're done building those platforms, by the time you've paid all the license fees and paid us to build out a huge server farm, there's actually been very, very little investment and time left to work on the customer experience. That has really been the issue. So the point of this slide isn't really to bash on platforms or say, the past was ugly. The point I want to make here is to talk about the fact that our industry has been preparing for this moment. It's really kind of neat to me because we've been working through all of these problems really for decades, for years now. And so what I'm proposing to you is, if you've been a little burned in the past or said, hey, this stuff is really, really hard, you might want to take a second look now at some of these concepts. I really enjoyed what Diane said, by the way, and I probably am ahead of myself here. But one of the things I really enjoyed about what she said is that we're seeing more about actual customer experience design. We're seeing design thinking, and that's exactly what I've been working on for the last year, and that's been so much nicer to me than having to design another server farm. And so it's really a huge, well, it's a sea change in our industry. And that very profound transformation has at its core the internet. It has at its core the World Wide Web, because that has enabled these next generation software as a service platforms. Now, when we talk about those platforms, the very first thing we talk about is, of course, when we're talking about customer experience and contact center, is the CCaaS, we call them, right? Contact center as a service platforms. You may have heard about one today. Five9 is a CCaaS platform. And so that's kind of the first leg in this customer experience ecosystem that's built out now. really neat thing, there's a lot of neat things about these contact center as a service platforms, but one of the huge things, one of the massive things in going to the cloud, if you will, is the fact that for your license fee, for the price of your seats that you're purchasing, you get a highly available, globally distributed platform. That is really, really cool to me, because I have a lot of customers who are still on premise platforms who don't have backup data centers. They can't afford them. So that's one of the really, really cool things to me. The other thing is we're talking native omnichannel, right? Casey talked a little bit about omnichannel up front, and it's something that we've all talked about for a lot of years, and it's native. It's just there. But those CCaaS platforms are only part of the ecosystem we're talking about, right? They're an incredibly important part. They are the front door, but we also have, CX professionals like myself. We also have this whole new world of speech and natural language understanding and AI platforms that we can tie together to use with these to make these virtual agents, make these virtual assistants. And this was really tough in the past, extremely tough, because we had to build all of this out. And this is one of those places where we spent a ton of money and didn't always get the results that we wanted. And the cool thing about where we are today is I can go buy off the shelf from Google, from Amazon, from Microsoft, and really spend very little time trying to make speech work. In fact, no time at all to make speech work, to make natural language understanding work. And the tuning and the training, I can't say they just happen. We have to do some work, but the tools are there. And this is all because of technology convergence. I don't know if this is the best term for it, but really it's there because we have, again, the ubiquitous network. We have the network everywhere, right? And we have open APIs and standards-based integrations, and I can't stress how important this is. So the other day I was watching one of my guys in a lab. He was building a quick lab demonstration for me, and it actually was our Five9 lab. He took Five9 on one side, Salesforce on the other side. In a few clicks in Five9 and a few clicks in Salesforce, he landed a call on Five9. This took maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. He landed a call on Five9 and we had a screen pop in Salesforce. Now, Five9 is not the only platform that can do that. Salesforce isn't the only platform that can do that. But it's an illustration of how we can take these best of breed components and actually build them into an integrated solution now. So again, very, very exciting on the delivery side, where we can have this single pane of glass where we're using the best of breed. And again, bringing in speech, NLU, from, if you prefer Dialogflow, we use that, or we use Lex. It's just a really amazing time. But one of the things I think we overlook as we talk about the flexibility of the technology is the flexibility of the acquisition models. And this is another thing that I really stress when I'm in consulting engagements with my customers, is the fact that this is almost equally important, because you can go in and start small and get bigger. It's that simple. You move the budget from these big monolithic capital expenditures to the fact that you can bring in some of these, again, best of breed things in the cloud, and you pay for them as you need them. And it's really neat. And again, that's true at the CCaaS in the contact center providers. It's true when we're talking about speech and natural language providers. It's true when we're talking about all of these different subscription type providers. It also really levels the playing field for large and small organizations, which is kind of cool too. But it's a really important thing to understand. I threw this slide in really quickly. I don't know if it really fits completely with the flow of what I was talking about, but we threw this in because it was a visual that I like from our marketing team. And I wanted to show it to you really fast, because I know for a fact, because I know some of you who are out there, that some of you are still stuck in 1988. And by the way, these dates are dates that we kind of just went in and said, we think this is about when there was adoption. So you could argue that there was a touch-tone auto attendant far before 1982, but we started to see this kind of adoption. The point is, I know some people Some organizations are still stuck in 1988, 1982 even, probably. There's some that have the 2002 model where they're actually doing some speech and maybe even a little natural language processing, because with some big organizations, I've built natural language processing a few years ago. I know other people have too. It's just we spent a lot of money doing it. So here's the point of this slide, the real key point. If you're still in 1988, if you're still in 1982, congratulations, you get to jump all the way to 2020. That's how much progress we've made. You can go there without big disruptive change now, unless that's what you need, if you need that disruptive change. I have a lot of customers that I work with today that they just have one little piece of their contact center business that they need to, their contact center process that they really need some efficiency in. And we found very innovative ways, and that's certainly true, as everyone has pointed out today. That's certainly true this year. And we've been able to go in and pick off those little, that low-hanging fruit, those quick wins, if you will, and bring them in very quickly. So the message I would like to leave you with is it really is the time to do this. And I am very, very excited that we get to stop managing platforms. Well, we still have to manage some platforms out there, but we get to stop building these monolithic platforms and create great experiences. Like I said, what Diane said is true. We've moved into a mode of actual doing CX design rather than architecture design. And that's extremely exciting. And it's because CX has finally become agile, both from a technical perspective and an industry adoption perspective. We can start small with some quick wins if we need to. We don't have to forklift upgrade like we used to have to do. We can do some things around legacy platforms now that are really, really innovative. And those small, the other cool thing is those small wins, they are built on a strategic foundation. So when you're ready for the bigger picture, you can move to that strategic foundation rather than having to throw out what you've done before. It's very iterative, and we practice continuous improvement in the industry now, and that's not something we've always been able to do. So the barriers are down, and that's really the message that I'd like to leave you with. And one of the exciting things for me is I have a lot of colleagues in this industry. A lot of them actually work at Five9. I was looking at at my LinkedIn the other day at how many people I know in the industry work at Five9 now. There's a lot of them, but it's a small world that we play in. But we have all been preparing for this time for a very long time. So you have a lot of resource out there. I'm biased to online, obviously, but there's a lot of resource out there in the world. You've met a couple of others today, Diane and Casey. All of us are really in a place where we can help build those experiences. So with that, I would like to say thanks to Diane, Casey, the teams at Online, Five9, and tech execs who made this possible, especially to all of you for joining us. And I hope you found something useful. As I think Tony mentioned, there's an offer we have, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Tony, and let you talk about that.
Thank you so much. That was, I just realized something between you, Diane, and Casey. You guys crammed about 3 hours worth of 3 hours worth of stuff in a 47 minutes, and we still have about 8 more minutes going. So I what we were able to do from a tech exec's perspective, bring both Five9 and also Online Business Systems, and asking them to kind of help chair this kind of conversation, this kind of expertise conversation. They went ahead and graciously has given us all of our attendees a kind of a workshop that if you guys want to join, I went ahead and put the link on the chat box itself, and please at least copy it and just kind of sign up, or you sign up right now if you want to. But I do have a couple questions. We have a private chat for both Casey and Jay. So I kind of wrote down a piece of paper. How many languages can a virtual agent support these days? Either one of you, Casey or Jay.
Hundreds. And it's really, from that perspective, IVAs give us the ability to come in and really execute in language at a rapid pace. And so no longer are we stuck on, the dialogues and being able to translate. It's really just, it's the speed and the agility for us to meet the customer, not only on the channel they want, but in the language that they prefer. And so hundreds of languages are supported on the IVAs.
All right, so I think this question is for Jay. How long does it take to launch a new AI-powered IVR?
A few minutes. Now I'm being flippant there, but in reality, I mean, we do that. That's one of the most exciting things for me. Actually, when I go into my design workshops, a lot of times I will go in and prototype out an IVR for people just because I can do it that fast. And so, we have had situations, and I'm sure Casey and his team have had situations where we've gone in and with a day stood up a virtual agent or an auto attendant or something. And again, a lot of that has been situational this year where we've had to do that. In reality, when we want to go in and really, the first leg of all this is design. So that's the part that takes the longest. We go in and do a good design, really think about what we're trying to do. But when we go in and do the true IVAs that we're working on for long term, it's gone from a matter of months or even over a year to a matter of weeks to put those solutions into place. It's far faster, and it's fun when you have a better result and you get it faster. That's a really neat outcome.
And I'd say too, one of the advantages is it's something that actually gets better over time. So in typical like speech recognition platforms, you see a degradation of accuracy, and so you start to lose call containment and people start to drop out. With IVAs, it tunes itself and actually gets better and more accurate over time. And that's it's kind of an inverse technology. So out of the gate, you may actually see lower success over time. You see more and more call containment as more people get put through the platform.
Okay. All right. So this is going to be coming out of left field. This is my personal question. What are the biggest ROIs that you are able to see? Is there a specific industry or a specific type of market that seem to help out?
The biggest places where we see ROI right away, immediately. This is a many-layered question, Tony. But the biggest places where we can see immediate ROI is when you have very transactional things. And this is what we've seen, when Casey was talking about earlier, what we've seen during the kind of COVID-19, the pandemic this year. It's taking those things that are very transactional, like I won't use checking a balance because that one's kind of sailed far away, but maybe checking on your benefits, maybe checking on your checking on where a package is, even those sorts of things that someone might be calling about that a lot of times they could have done on the web, but we still have people who are calling us about them. Those highly transactional things are the things that we've been picking off as quick wins to enable the agents, the human agents, who have much bigger fish to fry right now, right? As Casey said, they're working a lot harder and often on stickier problems. But again, it's a layered question. The ROI around retention, customer retention and customer sat, that gets even bigger and deeper. Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you can kind of weigh it on both sides. It's customer brand loyalty and the increase that you're going to see on a spend and loyalty on one side. But from dollars and cents, if you're coming in and we're talking about that agent assist, where we're now able to consolidate and bring a centralized desktop in there, you can find 10 to 15%, speed. So if in a 4-minute call, this is super granular, you're looking at a minute's worth of savings in a 4.5-minute call. And so from there, you start to get down to that cost per call. You're able to really get more throughput in there. Not at the expense, though, of managing to archaic SLAs, but delivering a better customer experience while engaging more customers at a time. Self-service IVAs have a 5 to 10% improvement over call containment over traditional, really expensive to maintain and manage, speech recognition platforms. And so right there out of the gate, you have the ability to see some cost savings as well. But not only that, it's now the other side of the coin where I like my interaction with this organization better because I'm not getting frustrated. So there's benefits to fund the transition, and then there's the back end benefits that I have happier customers that are willing to spend more money with me over time.
Okay.
Yeah, and don't forget, on that note, don't forget that one of the biggest hassles in the customer experience is staying on hold. So going back to the thing that I was talking about before, if I'm staying on hold to find out, you know, to find out if I qualify for a medical procedure that I need to go in and have done, and I talk with a human agent, but that's an okay experience. But if I can do that in 30 seconds with a virtual agent, it's probably a better experience, even though it's a fairly in-depth question.
Yeah. You know, on a personal note, I've seen during COVID, a lot of companies are simply not providing the support. They're kind of getting out of it by saying, well, you know, because of COVID, using that as an excuse. I think, by the way, that's not an excuse, right? So if you have the ability to use AI bots, chat bots, I think that should be ongoing all the time. Would you guys agree from the experience perspective?
In April, maybe that was an excuse. That ship has sailed. You're absolutely right, Tony.
Yeah. And I would say that their competitors are offering it.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have unfortunately, maybe some attrition or churn from customers based on access.
Yeah, I heard the story when you burn the customer once, they'll forgive you. You burn them twice, it's over.
And we try never to burn them at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that is very big part of the story too. Is it's not even just about burning them. It's how hard is it for them to do business with you? Right. And that's one of the big problems we're trying to solve here, is to make it a lot more seamless to do business.
Well, thank you all, man. Jay and Casey. I'm not sure Diane jumped back on, but she had to jump off to a meeting, to a call. Excuse me. So I want to say thank you to both of you, and also Diane for sharing your insights in today's session. And I went ahead and, for you guys who are on the online here, we went ahead and put that the link for the Ask an Expert link for online business systems. Feel free to fill out that link. And also, I just spoke with one of the online people that if you guys like to get a resource package, simply put your name, and then they will capture your name and they will send that to you via email after today's session. So, well, I want to say thank you. So let's do a quick wrap up, 30 seconds. We're coming to the end. We'll start with Jay, and we'll go to Casey. Jay?
Okay. Well, thanks. I do appreciate all of you being here, and I hope you got something out of it. And I would encourage you, to use the advisory service offer that we put out there. It's, one of those no strings attached things. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is just discussing solutions and trying to help people in the industry with those things. To that end, if you don't feel like you want to sign up for something formally, hey, my email's there. You can find me on LinkedIn pretty easily. And again, I think this is a really, really exciting time, and I hope I get a chance to work with some of you in the future on the customer experience. Thanks very much.
Well, I would say thank you all. I echo Jay and everyone's comments and or comments about hosting this and organizing it. I'd say that improvements in customer experience do not have to be daunting or a forklift. You can make incremental bets with cloud and the flexibility to come in and laser focus and fix a specific thing. That's the beauty of it, is you can come in and fix incremental issues within there versus coming in and saying, I need a whole new customer experience. Here's $10 million. We can go in and make smart bets that will give you improvements in brand loyalty, customer experience, and then agent experience to kind of give you that holistic picture that we're all trying to achieve. So thank you. I'd love to talk to all of you about it with Jay and team from our perspective. Thank you so much for your time again today.
Okay. Well, all thank you so much for joining. And again, thank you, Casey, Diane, and Jay, for your insights. Today's session was recorded. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit that video down to just the content portion and make that available online once more on the event site itself. And for the rest of you guys, please go ahead and we're going to stay on call here for a few more minutes here. Feel free to type in your name if you'd like to get that resource package from Online Business Systems.